Hey everyone, this is the second part of our barbell cycling series. With me today I have Stefano. He's going to do the demonstration, and I'm Chris. I'm going to do the explanation. As I just said, this is the second part, so if you haven't watched the first part, make sure to click this link above to watch the first part first and stay in order. Let's get right to work with some hang cleans and how we could possibly cycle a hang clean in a workout to stay efficient. One thing before we go, as a reminder, we want to stay bolted for our barbell cycling. That means we always have the connection with our forefoot to the floor, and we have somewhat wider stance than our pulling stance and somewhat narrower stance than our catching stance. Something to think about here is to always drive your heel towards the floor aggressively when you move under the barbell. Stefano is going to demonstrate now how to cycle a hang clean with a more larger range of motion. He's going to pick up the bar first and now does 5 reps. As you can see, he's still dynamically loading his hips, having his hips high and accelerating aggressively from that above the knee position. This one is a great way to cycle the hang power clean, especially if you need to rely on the muscles on your posterior chain and if you're not so explosive. If you're more of an explosive type of athlete, we have something we refer to as like a dip power clean or a hip power clean, where you just bend at the knee slightly and use a shorter range of motion to accelerate the barbell. Stefano is going to demonstrate that next. He's just bending at the knee and hip slightly, brings the bar to his shoulder and then right back down. As you can see, this style of hang power clean is much more efficient in terms of the time it takes to complete a set of reps. Okay, and relax. And it's also more explosive. Whenever something is explosive, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's usually the better way. It's just a different variation that sometimes also is referred to as a bouncing clean. Or as we said earlier, a hip clean, because you usually have the bar higher at the hip. As we said earlier and also in the other video, these things are always very individual. So you need to try out which style of clean fits you best and which variation of hang cleans you want to use in your next workout. The next thing we're going to do is a snatch. For the snatch, usually the same things apply as to the clean, but we always have to keep in mind that the snatch is more of a complex movement because the kinetic chain is so much longer, because we move the barbell in one flow motion from the floor to the overhead position. What Stefano is going to do now, he's going to perform 5 power snatches and he's going to reset on the floor for each rep. Try to stay bolted. As you can see, he's setting up into a nice starting position with his upper back tight, his mid back tight. The barbell is close to his chin and he has a smooth and fluent movement pattern. But one thing you've probably noticed, especially if you watched our first video, in terms of time efficiency, this wasn't a very fast set. It was more like a slow movement, and it can take a lot out of you hanging out in the starting position. That means we want to move towards a more fluent style of movement with the touch and go power clean, where we cycle the barbell with our feet bolted, our hips moving back when we bring the bar back down, and we want to use the bounce of the rubber plate on the rubber floor the best we can. Do a set of 5 power snatches now. Bolted and directly into the next rep. Similar to the clean, he's throwing his hips back to allow the barbell to move in more of a straight line. And he's staying bolted. For the snatch, the turnover usually is much more difficult to get right than the power clean. So here's a tip to focus on when you do the turnover and receive the bar in the overhead position. As I said earlier, Stefano aggressively drives his heel towards the floor, and at the same time he wants to punch a hole in the air with his fist or with his hand to move under the barbell as fast as possible. Do a set of 3 here, and specifically watch for the feet and the movement overhead. We want a strong lockout, and we want to move under the barbell fast. Thank you. The power snatch is very similar in terms of barbell cycling to the power clean. We want to have high hips, we want to have our feet bolted, and we always want to move our hips back to make room for the barbell to move straight down instead of around the knees. Sometimes we also do hang power snatches in workouts. So the next thing we're going to cover is how to cycle the hang power snatch as efficiently as possible. And here the same principles apply as to the hang power clean. So what Stefano is going to do now, he's going to pick up the barbell, lowers it to the above the knee position, and goes into his hang power snatch. Now he brings it straight back down into the above the knee position and does 2 more reps, please. One more, and relax. Thank you. One common error that happens with the hang power snatch when cycling it like this is that the arms take over way too much. So our hips, especially our glutes and our posterior chain, are some of the most powerful muscles we have. So we want to utilize them as best as possible and not just like pull from our traps, our upper arms, and basically our forearms. So what you're going to watch for is his violent hip extension, especially in the last third of the movement. When the barbell is accelerated from here to his hip crease, he really extends and thinks of pushing the floor away with his legs. Do another set of 3. Above the knee, keeping the bar close, having like a nice contact at the hip, and really using the hips. Thank you. Less commonly used, but still existing, is the bouncing style of hang power snatch, where we do what we call the dip snatch, where we just bring it to the hip, bend at the knee and the hip slightly, and violently push out of it. Again, this is a much more explosive style of moving the barbell for the hang power snatch, but this might be something that suits you. Demonstrate a set of 5 hang power snatches from the hip. As you can see, the barbell is barely moving down Stefano's thighs, and he's pressing out aggressively with his legs and hips. One more, and thank you. Again, this style of moving the barbell is much faster, but it isn't necessarily the most efficient way in terms of energy expenditure. And this certainly is something we have to manage. What we would recommend is trying out multiple sets of 5 to 8 repetitions at a lighter load to, for one, get the timing right, and then see which style of movement suits you best. As you get more skilled with barbell cycling, this could change in the future. So this is always an ever-evolving process instead of one training session that brings you all the adaptation you would ever need. This concludes the second part of our barbell cycling series. Always keep in mind that barbell cycling is more of an advanced skill in CrossFit. If you want to learn the Olympic lifts first, which you should certainly do if you have no experience with the barbell whatsoever, then you should go back to some of our other tutorials that we have collected for you in a playlist in a convenient way to go through them, spend some time learning the basics, and then moving on to more advanced techniques. And as I referred to throughout this tutorial several times, it's always a process. Don't just focus on the outcome of one session. You have to practice certain things. It always takes time to acquire new skills and new movements. That's why you should be very deliberate with your practice, film yourself and review what you just saw, and maybe compare to what you just saw by Stefano. If you like these kinds of videos, please leave us a like, or you could even subscribe to our channel. We would certainly appreciate that as well. And as I said earlier, go to our library and see what else we have for you to make you a better CrossFitter.